It was a blistering summer afternoon in downtown Austin, the kind of heat that makes tempers shorter and emotions hotter. The rally for police reform was in full swing, with a sea of protesters waving signs, chanting slogans, and forming a human symphony of outrage and determination. The air crackled with energy, a mix of hope and hostility. Amid the crowd was Lisa, a petite woman in her late 30s, 8 months pregnant, and wearing a bright red MAGA hat. The hat wasn't a statement of defiance. It was just Lisa being Lisa, standing for what she believed in: dialogue. But as she moved through the crowd, her hat might as well have been a flashing neon sign that read, "Challenge me." Whispers and side-eyes followed her like shadows. "What's she doing here?" someone muttered. "Wrong crowd for that," another snickered. Lisa kept her head high, though her pulse quickened. Her hands instinctively moved to her belly, a silent gesture of grounding herself against the growing unease. Amanda spotted her almost instantly. She was a fiery organizer in her early 20s, a megaphone swinging from her shoulder and a name tag that read "Lead Organizer" in bold letters. If Lisa was a spark, Amanda was dynamite, and her glare promised an explosion. She pushed through the crowd with military precision, stopping just inches from Lisa. "Excuse me," Amanda barked, loud enough for nearby protesters to stop mid-chant. "What exactly do you think you're doing here with that hat?" Lisa blinked, her calm demeanor contrasting sharply with Amanda's intensity. "I'm here to listen," she replied, "like everyone else." Amanda scoffed, pointing dramatically at Lisa's hat like it was a criminal offense. "Listen? That hat isn't listening, it's trolling. You think anyone here believes you're about dialogue?" "I'm not here to argue," Lisa said, her voice level. "Just to understand." The crowd closed in like an audience at a prize fight. Phones were out, recording the scene. Amanda smirked. "That's rich. That hat represents hate. Take it off or get out." Lisa stepped back, clutching her belly protectively. "I'm not leaving." Amanda's eyes narrowed, her face twisting with disdain. Without warning, she lunged and yanked the hat off Lisa's head. Gasps echoed, and Lisa froze, cheeks flushing with shock. "Give it back," she said, her voice rising. But Amanda held the hat high like a trophy. "This doesn't belong here," Amanda declared triumphantly. "Neither does bullying," a deep, calm voice cut through the noise. Heads turned as a tall, sharp-dressed man strode forward. His navy suit and piercing gaze commanded instant attention, his presence silencing the crowd. "Hand her hat back," the man said, his tone measured but unyielding. Amanda faltered, clutching the hat tighter as the crowd whispered. The man's eyes bore into her, calm but unrelenting. "Or would you like me to explain the concept of assault in front of everyone here?" Amanda hesitated, her bravado wavering. The murmurs grew louder, and the corners of Lisa's lips curled into the faintest smile. The scene was shifting, and Amanda was losing ground. Amanda's defiance faltered as she faced the man's unwavering presence. "Who even are you?" she snapped, trying to mask her unease. "Thomas Blake," he replied coolly, his voice commanding respect. "Attorney and defender of civil liberties," he pointed to Lisa. "And if I'm not mistaken, you just committed assault by snatching that hat." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some people began to film the unfolding scene, their cameras trained on Amanda's increasingly flustered expression. "This is about protecting the movement," Amanda protested. "That hat symbolizes oppression and—" "That hat symbolizes her personal beliefs," Thomas cut in. "Just like your shirt does for you. Or are you suggesting freedom of expression only applies to people you agree with?" Amanda sputtered, her face reddening. "It's not the same." Thomas stepped closer, his tone sharp. "Oh, it's exactly the same. You don't have the right to intimidate someone into silence. This rally stands for justice, right? How just is it to humiliate a pregnant woman?" The crowd began to shift uneasily. Amanda's supporters shuffled their feet, avoiding eye contact, while others muttered words of agreement with Thomas. A woman in the crowd called out, "He's got a point!" Amanda thrust the hat toward Thomas. "Fine, take it, but she shouldn't be here." Thomas turned to Lisa and extended the hat back to her. "You don't have to leave," he said firmly. "This space is as much yours as anyone's." Lisa took the hat with trembling hands, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you." Amanda glared at Thomas, but knew she'd lost. She stormed off, her megaphone swinging awkwardly at her side. The tension in the air lingered, but the confrontation was over, or so it seemed. As the crowd began to disperse, Thomas turned to Lisa. "Are you all right?" Lisa nodded, still clutching the hat. "I didn't expect it to escalate like that. Thank you for stepping in." "It's what I do," he replied with a faint smile. "You're incredibly brave to come here knowing how people might react." Lisa looked away, a hint of embarrassment creeping onto her face. "I just wanted to listen, to understand both sides." Thomas regarded her thoughtfully. If only more people thought like that. Before Lisa could respond, the hum of police sirens cut through the air. A squad car pulled up, and 2 officers stepped out. Amanda reappeared, her arms crossed smugly as she gestured toward Lisa. "That's her," Amanda declared. "She was causing a disturbance." Thomas sighed, rubbing his temple. "This again." One officer approached Lisa, while the other spoke with Amanda. "Ma'am, we got a report of disruptive behavior. Can you tell us what happened?" Lisa opened her mouth, but Thomas stepped in. "Officers, there's been a misunderstanding. The only disruption came from that woman," he said, pointing to Amanda. "And I have witnesses to prove it." The officer raised an eyebrow. "Witnesses? Half the crowd recorded it," Thomas replied dryly. "Including me." He held up his phone, the screen displaying a clear video of Amanda grabbing Lisa's hat and berating her. The officers exchanged looks. One approached Amanda, who immediately started protesting. "She provoked me. That hat is—" "Ma'am, that doesn't justify assault," the officer said sternly. "We'll need you to come with us." As Amanda was led away, Thomas turned to Lisa. "Looks like justice works both ways." Lisa chuckled nervously. "I didn't want any of this." "I know," Thomas said, "but sometimes standing up for yourself has a way of finding you." The rally began to wind down, and the tension in the air eased. Lisa sat on a bench, sipping a bottle of water that Thomas had fetched for her. He joined her, leaning against the backrest. "I'm sorry you had to go through that," Thomas said, "but you handled yourself well." Lisa smiled faintly. "I'm not used to being the center of attention, especially not like this." "You made an impression," Thomas said. "And not just on Amanda. Look around." Lisa glanced up to see several people nodding at her, offering smiles of support. A young woman approached hesitantly. "I just wanted to say I admire your courage," she said softly. "You stood your ground. That means something." Lisa thanked her, feeling a warm sense of validation. Thomas watched, a small smile tugging at his lips. As they left the rally, Lisa turned to Thomas. "Why did you step in for me?" He shrugged. "Because it was the right thing to do, and because people like you remind me why I became a lawyer." Lisa laughed. "A lawyer defending a MAGA hat? That's got to be a first." Thomas smirked. "Justice doesn't pick sides." With that, they parted ways, but the encounter stayed with Lisa. She'd come to the rally to understand others, but had ended up learning something about herself instead. Sometimes courage wasn't just about standing up. It was about staying true to who you are, even when the world pushes back.